Right, and that said, thank you very much, Manuel, for commentating alongside me, F-Man2, but we're going to be having a bit of a commentator switch going into this match as well, so commentating alongside me for this match is going to be none other than Era Sunny. How's your day been?
It's been going fantastic, Epic Man. Just been chilling on this fine Saturday. Have had some other staffing needs to do, but glad to be here. Wouldn't miss this match for the world. Two absolute titans going to duke it out for that final spot in the losers finals conditional spot. Darkhechiser, one of the strongest players from Mexico, one of the best well-rounders in my opinion, very strong in that long note department, versus one of the most strongest well-rounders in the United Kingdom, which is Minieg_23. And now these two players do have a lot of tournament history, I believe. Darkhechiser crowned champion alongside, I believe, A-Stall, Mari, and I believe Shoira from all the way back in Maniac Key Clash Cup, so not a stranger to the tournament scene. We all know pretty strong in the LN zone, and Minieg, I believe, two-time MWC contender for that UK team, and one of their main people for their LN team. So I feel this is going to be a match and a half.
Absolutely. Both these players have unwavering presence in the scene of tournaments, and like you said, with Minieg, you literally cannot go seeing a tournament without seeing him at least in any of these tournaments, especially on the higher end of the difficulty spectrum. Even if it's not 4K, you'll see him regardless, especially in the 1K side of things, for example. But once again, finals match. This is going to be deciding the final conditional of that we're going to be seeing for the rest of the tournament. So once again, this is going to be quite a major match, and so far it seems like we have Minieg in at the moment and going to be rolling at 24. Is Darkhechiser in the lobby yet? I didn't check. Oh no, they are.
They're there. And Darkhechiser going to roll a 33, going to win the roll, and will opt, I believe, for the first pick of the litter for what they feel is most comfortable to go for here. And I mean, we have seen, I would like to say both of these players have a history of upsets. I know Minieg did pull up the upset last week against A-Stall, taking that match with quite the command, actually. I believe taking by the 100,000 or 50,000 score difference, just from the 9th seed though, so not really by much, but Minieg will opt for that first ban. I feel like Density is probably going to be probably one of Minieg's bans here. I feel like they're going to stir away from that Density side of the map pool. Probably would stick to like the accuracy range of the pool. Or if not, just go for one of the rice picks, honestly.
Yeah, I feel going up against the likes of Darkhechiser, it really just makes the LN side of things a lot more riskier to go for, especially with the fact that I know Minieg is mainly well-versed when it comes to these LNs, but I feel here it's going to be a lot riskier because I know Minieg is a lot better with these LNs than in comparison to the Rice maps, and it's definitely going to be shown in perspective when we see the Rice 7 bans. That's going to be the endgame Rice map gone off the board. So now I'm going to be waiting for Darkhechiser's ban before we get into the first pick. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if it is something from the LNs as well, because I know Darkhechiser probably doesn't want to have any of these really risky LN battles when it comes to some of these picks as well, especially in the case where both these maps are some of the more comfortable maps that both these players are well versed with, but it's going to be Core Jack at the end of the day, it seems. Okay.
Bit interesting of a ban to go for. Maybe just not finding the comfortableness of the Rice section of the map pool. I mean, it has been bumped up a lot, this map pool, so maybe that skill cap maybe starting to get the best of these players. We have seen already the skill cap hitting some of the likings of more of these top players, and Darkhechiser are gonna opt for the first pick of this match. You're gonna see how things will go underway. Oh, interesting pick. Gonna open up with Rice 1, so gonna opt for that stream pick. Light, I believe it's Light My Way.
Yeah. Honestly, this is a bit of an interesting first pick. This one being Rice 1, this is the first map of all the other maps in the pool, so definitely a bit of an interesting dynamic, but I doubt this is going to lead in how I feel people are going to be expecting. I feel Darkhechiser, with this one being their first pick, Maniac's definitely going to opt in for some of the Ellen maps in contrarian to this one, so it's going to be interesting to see this one. This is definitely quite a physical map with some of these incredibly abrasive patterns that are just scattered throughout it, especially at a whopping 380 BPM.
Yeah, you mentioned that very well. And honestly, we've been talking a lot about these players' LN capabilities, but do not count out as well that these players are probably one of the, like what I mentioned roughly at the start of the stream, one of the strongest well-rounders of each of their respective countries. I know Darkhechiser are very strong in the physical department. Same with Miniegg as well. As I feel, it's just that they're very good well-roundedly. It's just their LNs shine just a hair brighter than the rest here, and we're gonna see set on stage now. Light My Way, like you mentioned, 380 abrasive streams, goes on for quite the time as well. 4 minutes of just stream, unless the drain time is trolling me here.
It's about 2 minutes in drain time, yeah.
Okay, so Laser is trolling me.
Laser just likes to troll. I'm not the biggest fan of that. But yeah, seems like we've got the map underway. Seems like we are already quite a portion through the intro already, going through some of these really more role-focused patterns, and then you also have some of these trills thrown in for extra measures. So far, Miniac going to be having the better advantage here. Almost 8,000 points in their favor, and that is only going to remain that way for just a bit before we go into the first chorus. We're now just approaching past the first quarter, so now we are going to have to approach that first chorus one way or another, where things are going to throw in a bit of a tidal wave here.
Yeah, and one thing to really take note for Miniegg is that if you falter any way, shape, or form, Miniegg pretty much a brick wall when it comes to some of these charts. It takes them a lot to find breaks, and we're seeing an abundance of breaks on both sides here, but Miniegg getting the benefit, only dropping about twice, while Dark finding a couple more. That's going to up the lead roughly to 8.6k on the side of Miniegg here as we head into the back half of the chart with the map calmed down just a bit, but a lot of those really nasty index streams really threw those players apart, especially at an astonishing 380 BPM. And here we go with the final quarter of the chart.
Yeah, one last call for both these players here. Darkhechiser going to be taking the first drop of the map, having maintained such a good score for all throughout, but Miniegg also in with some misses as well. Rise, I accidentally predicted it as well, but the chain misses from Darkhechiser is only going to add additional fire to the fuel, as we can see for the scoreline here. Going to be quite in the advantage of Miniegg, but taking some of these misses is only going to decrease by just a bit as we go into the ending. Both these players not immune to any of these chokes, and that's all one. What is the score?
What the heck?
What?
Oh my goodness, wait! 439 points. What the hell was that opening?
It was really in Miniagg's advantage as well. What do you mean it just flashed to 400 in an instant? Holy!
I feel that consistency really died out, especially at the end, especially hitting these very stamina draining streams for nearly 3 minutes. And I mean, yeah, it will get the best of you. And like we saw, a lot of those nasty judgments came at the end of the chart. Miniegg really falling from grace, especially. You think that just maybe that stamina component really started to get him at the end of that map there. But nonetheless, they did still take that, not by much, only by 400 points, but it's still a lead.
Yeah, as long as it's still elite, then that's what matters, you know?
You won the pick, but at what cost?
Well, 439 points, at least.
But yeah, also, Mini Egg does technically get a break point here, as it will be their pick of the litter to see if they can increase that lead. And I mean, if we're going to see that pattern of these insanely tight score differences, we could potentially see another final scoring.
Yeah, just the fact that we are going into some of our final losers bracket matches, and we're going to be seeing potential final scoring maps back to back. That alone is just a concept that is scary. I mean, especially with Miniac picking out LN1 very early on, basically equivalent to the match we had just earlier on an hour ago. History does repeat itself, like I literally just said about 20 minutes ago approximately, but it seems like both these players are going to be off to a bit of a quick start here. The good luck have funs have been sent, especially by Segurium, our fellow referee here. The map is now underway. Raspberry Cube.
Yeah, dropping into the LNs, and I feel like, oh, Mini Egg. Okay, Mini Egg is alive. Heading into this pick, LN1 usually are more coordination / timing hell pick, so it makes sense that Mini Egg would opt for a chart like this. Maybe just get the edge on the accuracy department alone, and maybe see if he can blow this lead by a mile in favor of them. But right now, I mean, this map just opened up, so we can't really judge already, but Mini Egg having just the slightest advantage, but Dark actually going to pick up a slider break here. And I feel like this timing out with these staggered shields, these staggered releases, might slip up Dark. Not the most comfortable patterns to hit.
Yeah, I think in general, both these players tend to struggle with some of these more coordination-oriented maps overall, especially the fact that going into the late game, it evolves into more of these timing hell-oriented patterns, and we have seen from both these players trading misses going into the start. This is now only going past the first quarter, now into the first course. This is 209 BPM timing hell, mind you, so this is definitely going to be quite the hell that both these players have to endure to be able to at least go through the whole map pool and at least burn through some of these picks as well. But so far, Miniac has quite a bit of a decent lead so far. 5,000 points in their favor. Please don't miss on this. You're going to need at least some of these leads going into the match, honestly.
Yeah, like I mentioned in Rice 1, these players are brick walls. They refuse to give up any form of bad judgments until they are physically unable to hold on for any longer. And I mean, that's what we saw with Rice 1, but I feel like a map like this, not the densest chart in the world, so I feel like these players wouldn't have to worry about that stamina component, but their consistency is really going to worry a lot, and we are starting to see a couple breaks from Dark there that will up the lead to 6,000 points added to Miniac's cumulative score, and now adding an extra 3,000 of insurance, with a lot more of these breaks being more abundant on Dark side, especially with these more staggered shields, with these more tighter releases. And they're just struggling to hit that 400 combo cap. Miniag is slowly but surely running away with the 3,000.
Oh my goodness. Right as you were saying it as well, you were right on time with all of the statements, and only for Miniag to break right after hitting the 3,000 marker. That is crazy to think about.
Oops.
One more quarter left. It's not your fault, don't worry. But, oh my goodness.
It's been a hot minute since I commentated Cursed, actually.
Same.
And I think these players actually broke on the exact same note. Oh, Dark! Wait,
wait. What?
Dark, what happened there?
No. What was that? Are you kidding?
Oh, was maybe accidental tab out? Maybe they thought that was a break? I don't know. I thought that was a client issue at first, but the score isn't resetting, so that was a legitimate break. And just like that, Miniag has nearly 40,000 points in their court now.
Bloody hell, this is looking scary already. What do you mean this happened? Honestly, that is a really unfortunate circumstance that happened. Like, even then, like... like, the map is already too far gone. There's nothing really you can win off of this right now, but that honestly feels heartbreaking to put it into perspective. Holy.
Yeah, it's especially when the whole point of this tournament is score and not really where we don't really have a point system. It's just a matter of score difference. That is extremely heartbreaking on the side of Dark. But unfortunately, that will bleed almost 40,000 points in favor of Miniegg. And even if they didn't find that little hiccup there, which, it was a keyboard disconnect!
No!
Oh no! I thought they tabbed out for a second, the classic alt-tab trick. But no, it was a keyboard disconnect. RIP. But hey, we still have plenty of picks left to go, so it is not over yet, but still, sometimes the biggest leads, really, like, you can't give insane leads over to your opponents, because we saw at Rice 1 how tight that score difference was. That pattern can continue for the rest of this match.
Yeah, and we have seen Darkhechiser pull off something similar against the likes of Nod last week in the semifinals, where they had won on on Lolly Tomboy by about 40,000 points nearly, but especially here, getting that revenge treatment from Miniegg, or at least getting something similar to that in consequence, that is definitely going to be something that is going to really hit the nerve there, and especially with Miniegg going for Ellen free right after. This is just about the same first Ellen picks from the round we just had an hour ago. Holy moly.
Yeah, there's just basically one giant Control-C, Control-V when it comes to these picks here, and we are going to opt for responsibility response here. So we're going to remain down in that LN's apartment. I feel like this is a lot more, I feel like this is like a wild card-ish pick, I believe, if I recall my LNs.
Yeah.
Like a more technical-based LN, if I'm correct on that, on my terminology.
Yeah, you would be correct on that matter. This one being the other high-tech map available in the map pool, this one, in contrary to Ellen1, as we have seen Raspberry Cube, as far as my memory is recalling to just a few minutes ago, this one follows a little more flam-heavy LN, so kind of building off of what we have kind of seen with LN1, but making it a lot more flam-focused. So a lot of these release timing are just really tight in general, so really nothing. Basically, both these players just cannot really let off of the gas pedal just yet. This is definitely quite a dangerous map. Even with this one just being 2 minutes of length, this is still quite anyone's game, really. And as we can definitely see it here with the scoreline flickering before we have a bit of a minor bias in the side of Miniegg here.
Yeah, Miniegg really playing it their way here, really just banking off of those less denser picks and just trying to focus in the lens of just, can I outact my opponent, or can they find breaks on these more complicated LNs? Lots of these nasty technical releases, but Miniegg picks up the first break of this pretty short chart, only 2 minutes long. But, there are still more of these nasty, flowy, bursty technical sections, and there's the trade-off from Dark. It was a bit delayed, but Miniegg just trades it right back, and oh no, Dark!
Again?
Oh no! On the densest part of the map, too!
Oh.
Alright, who was unplugging his keyboard?
I have no words at this point. I don't want to say anything because I feel like whatever I want to say is going to be honest.
That is heartbreaking.
Oh my goodness.
Oh no. Absolute devastating from Darkhechiser. Another keyboard disconnect, I would assume, but would probably give us the memo after this map has concluded. But that lead of well over 50,000 points, even if Miniegg were to absolutely just collapse under the pressure here, they would still have a lot of points in their favor. But with that, Minieg will max out the score cap, 50,000 points in their favor. And oh boy, unfortunate from Dark. I feel like they might need to take a timeout to maybe reset their reset their keyboard, reset their computer, do something. Because that's twice in a row.
Yeah, if this surfing was to happen twice in a row for if I was in the shoes of Darkhechiser here, I would definitely take the time out just to at least look into sorting that issue out, because trying to go into multiple of these other maps left on the board right after is only just going to add to the pressure, and that is not going to allow for Darkhechiser to have any kind of fair play at all, especially the fact that this isn't even their fault either. This was just unfortunate circumstances being thrown at their face by the monitor. Oh, goodness.
Yeah, exactly. Hardware issues are nothing that you can... That's nothing in your control, really, so it's just unfortunate. But we are going to change gears here and opt for the hybrid pool. So we are going to opt for hybrid 1 here. And maybe Dark hasn't called a timeout or anything to, I mean, Minieg did suggest some ways to get rid of those keyboard issues. Maybe there's a different USB port on Dark's computer.
Yeah, because I remember I had a similar issue over a year ago when I played in NFT2 for, I believe you commentated that one match I did as well at the time.
I believe I did.
Yeah, it was the same match where I got literally 49 perfects on that one Necrosec map or something. I remember I had a massive problem on a hybrid map where my keyboard just fully disconnected. I had to report my USB for the keyboard to another port, which was on this extension cable that I had, and it actually solved the problem for me. So I feel like if Darkhechiser was to do the same thing here as I did then that would definitely help a bit with it. If it's a fresh port, for example, it would have to help. But hopefully, but that depends on the hardware itself. Hopefully, there is an additional spare USB port that is fully clean and all that. So yeah.
Yeah. So it looks like they changed the ports, but oh boy, that's a steep hill to climb. 89,000 points in favor of Minieg, and most of that surely just pure based off of hardware issues that unfortunately not really in anyone's control. But I mean, it happens. So
yeah.
But maybe this is the redemption arc. Using a different USB port maybe was the answer, and Dark could slowly but surely rebuild and potentially catch up to Minieg's insane lead right now.
Absolutely, and in which it's gonna be quite the effort to burn through to be able to suit a gap between the scores here. And Minieg's already just almost at the 100k score gap, or the 100k score mark, besides his name on the right, and Darkhechiser gonna be going in with the first miss. This is definitely going to be quite a bit of a negative sign for the side of Darkhechiser here. Minieg are going to be trading it out, however, so nothing is going to be of matter here. So definitely still a lot of time for some of these changes to be made. This map clocks at nearly 4 minutes approximately, so there's still a lot of room for mistakes to be made. But if anything, Darkhechiser is going to have to at least win off this map and start building quite the streak, because after this map they're gonna have to go into the second ban phase. So definitely do focus on at least winning some of these maps to be able to suit a gap, as I said.
And I mean, right now Dark having a very solid lead right now, although it's not by much, still it is a lead, and they have been really taking matters into their own hands, just holding on for dear life. Minieg has been kind of releasing a bit late as per usual, and there is a break from them. And I mean, but both players gonna trade breaks here, but Dark's still in the lead by roughly 6,000 points or so, and they are a 10th of a percentage ahead of Minieg right now as we head into the first break of the map here before we hit that halfway mark to go. So a very very solid chance for these players to rack up score, hit that 400 combo cap, bring that accuracy up as much as you can before heading into the second half of this chart where things just immediately kick back into full gear.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is going to be one of the most important things to look out for within this map, just because of the fact that this map is versatile in its own right. It is literally just a GVC tiebreaker, but cut in half to be able to fit a hybrid 1 slot here. And especially this one being a reuse from the Vietnamese tournament back in 2023, I believe, or 2024. I ripped the 2. This definitely makes up for a lot of the patterns that you see here, especially the fact that this is literally tiebreaker format. But just the fact that this alone is going to need to at least require a lot of commitment from the side of Darkhechiser here to be able to get the score lead that is desirable is going to be a bit of a tough fight. But Minieg taking some of these misses there, that's going to bring the lead over to about 15,000 points in their favor. So definitely a good sign. They just need to keep it. They just need to keep on that momentum throughout the final quarter.
Yeah, right now Dark already 15,000 points in their favor, so it could be the start of them gaining that lead back in Minieg, finding another break that will increase the lead to almost 20,000 points, but Dark trades it back, so right back to 15,000 points. They just cannot afford a collapse here because they have this map in the palm of their hands right now. Minieg finding a lot of these breaks on the more denser right sections, these fast 270 BPM jump streams, some broken streams here and there, and Dark 21,000 points in their favor. A bit more of a calm LN section, but yet still a pretty easy choking point if you are not careful, especially with these right sections mixed in between, heading back into these jump streams, no one messing up. And as the final LNs come raining down, Dark 20,000 points back in their favor, gonna get on the board for the first time in this match.
That's a good one. That is honestly a good counter for that pick, especially. And going into the second ban phase, it is now time for both of these players to be able to try and figure out what other maps they want to get off the board. So we had 2 Rice maps taken off the board earlier on, so we're definitely gonna have to see. I think Darkhechiser would honestly want to opt in for banning one of the LN maps, because I know Darkhechiser could definitely seek out a bit of an advantage on some of the Rice maps remaining. Because honestly, if we were to go into something like Ashed Wings, that would honestly be quite the danger for both of these players, because I know that they are capable of these kinds of maps of that caliber to just really bring things into the equation. So Darkhechiser are gonna have to at least rely on some of the Rice to be able to at least look into trying to see the gap, as I've said earlier. So gonna have to wait to see what the ban will be. However,
I feel like it's gonna be more maps in that Rice department, as you still have a plethora of long note maps to go from. You have 4 remaining, and we're actually gonna see Hybrid 2 come out for the ban, solely because they don't like the song. Personally, I don't know the song, but
I mean,
already.
Song is actually pretty decent in my opinion. I thought like it would have been a little more of a strategic decision, just because because Hybrid 2 itself is probably one of the most messed up maps that we have in this entire map pool. I mean, Tech Hybrids at this point, carrying on the trend that we have been seeing post quarterfinals after the likes of Yarite, for example. These maps only just get even scarier the further we go into the map pool. So meaning it's gonna be the loss in lines to make the final ban is definitely gonna be one of the Rice maps, honestly, because I know that he's left first in some of those. So it's definitely gonna be something like Edcar, I'd say.
Oh, what is the Jack map is already banned, but I feel like if Minieg would go for a Rice ban, it would probably one of the more denser picks we have, or something insanely technical. As, I mean, we did see Rice 1 didn't really go, or did go in their favor, but only by 400 points. And Rice 8, we don't have a Rice 8.
404 not found.
I feel like maybe Rice 4 could be the ban. I'm just thinking maybe Adcar. And ooh, Rice 16 now, actually, from our lovely streamer.
I mean, knowing how Hybrid 1 went, actually, I definitely think Ed would actually be a bit of a more sensible ban as well. On top of that, it's gonna be Rice 4 ban.
Rice 4.
Alright.
So yeah. Oh, because I don't like Terminal 11. Nice. Okay, so both the bans are just off of sheer song choice.
I completely forgot Mini Egg disliked Terminal 11 songs for a second. Oh my god.
Honestly, I don't mind Terminal 11. What's that one map by Pizza that got loved? Fury?
Fury, yeah, it's Fury.
That is a banger, bro. What do you mean? I know the name of the song originally isn't Fury. The metadata is incorrect, but I can't be bothered to look through Terminal 11's entire discography to go and find it.
I mean, to be honest, neither can I. Discogs probably... I don't know if Discogs even has, like, the right metadata, but... Seems like LM5 is going to be the next pick on that note, so that's going to be... Tsugi no Futago.
Oh my god, why didn't you ban this, bro?
I don't know. You wanted to save it for the right moment or something. Well, I can't like speak from the mind of any of these players here, so...
So we are gonna see Hitsugi get the pick here, as the neurons of thousands of Mania players across the world have been activated.
Honestly, you're not even wrong with that either. The amount of times I'm seeing people just mention the fact that this is Epsilon, like,
oh my god.
the voices in my head are getting louder, dude. I can't deal with this anymore.
Even the mapper put in the difficulty name.
Tiddly Epsilon.
Oh my god.
Nah, someone's gonna need to carry me away after this. I just can't deal with this anymore.
I think this is the sign I need to retire. I don't know the hip terms with the kids anymore. I don't know what an ADA is, bro.
Who's Sourgy? Never heard of that guy. Okay, anyways. That aside, we can now... Oh, sorry.
Does anyone still remember JK Zoo? What the heck?
Jix? Well, I do. I haven't heard about him in a while, though. I think he's kind of played in the community server, but I don't really remember. Alright, here we go.
Yeah, okay. We're all synced back up here. So, heading into this shards, what? This sounds okay. I thought this was a different version of Hitsugi for a second. I don't know why.
I mean, to be fair, and yeah.
Dark gonna pick up the first break of the shards. Mini Egg still holding up, very solid combo. I believe there was a miss early on though, so I don't think that's a full combo, or unless it was a Bancho break. But anywho, Mini Egg absolutely tearing this map apart.
Yeah, so far, Mini Egg is doing really well at being able to maintain the combo so far. Even with a lot of these unstable releases, that's going to lead to the first miss from Mini Egg. However, going into the back of the chart, Darkhechiser going to nullify the absolute effect of that, as the scoreline is now going to flicker for a bit with a slight bias in the side of Mini Egg. But any misjudgment is going to throw that over, and we see a bit of a rush of greats as from the side of Mini Egg. Some of these really early and late releases from his side, and even then, Darkhechiser is only reciprocating those with some really early and late releases as well. But the scoreline seems to be
Mini Egg! A pretty nasty drop from Mini Egg there, and there's only really this final, really elongated LN, really fast, dense inverse, pretty much, full LN being thrown at you here. And Mini Egg, despite their best efforts of holding up that combo very well, same with Dark, it's 6,000 points in favor of Dark, and a very hard ending there. But Dark going to run away with even only 5,000 points, but it's still better than nothing. A Very solid comeback there as Dark starting to chip away at that lead.
Indeed. So far, this is honestly looking to open up for a solid comeback from the side of Darkhechiser. This is definitely the one thing that this guy is going to need going into this match, especially riding off of some of the mistakes from, you know, LN1 and LN3 of we have seen. So next in line is got to be someone's pick. So it's going to be LN6? This early?
Jumping into the more, I believe, I like to call LN6 like the boss LN because, I mean, going off of last round, yeah, that was an insane map. And, Camellia featuring Camellia. You know what? Yeah. I won't even ask questions. We are going to head into Ashed Wings here. And... yeah, this is, I would assume, a more of a boss-based LN pick.
Yeah, this map, just the fact this is literally the entire song, but squeezed into a singular LN slot is scary. Like, I'm pretty sure this is the type of stuff you would see in the LN tournament, but no, it's actually in Solo Score Rush of all tournaments. Like, this is just oddly random, but I ain't against it, you know? If it works, then it works, you know?
I mean, Dark does specialize a lot in that density range, so really just going to exhaust the final dense LNs that are left on the board, and I think that's what's left. They only have LN4, and I believe LN2 left to pick, so Dark, I know, has a lot more comfort playing the more harder LNs we have in this pool. While Mini-Egg did focus a lot more on the less dense and more complex release-based LN, so this is Dark's specialty, and I mean, if they can build enough lead against Mini-Egg on these last couple of picks, then, I mean, we could see a final scoring potential, as Dark is doing a fantastic job of chipping away at this lead.
Yeah, it's going to really have to come down to Darkhechiser carrying on that streak of victories as we have been seeing thus far, especially getting through some of these elongated releases, as you have been saying, some of these staggered releases as well. So far, both of these players are looking really comfortable on the LN factor here, going through a lot of these really short LNs, but then you get into some of the more technical nitty-gritty in which Darkhechiser is going to be the first one to take the fire here, taking the shots here, and that is twice to put it into numbers.
And yeah, I mean, right now Dark going to pick up the first break here, while Mini-Egg having a solid lead, 5,000 points in their favor. But this map just began, and this is a 4.5 minute long chart, so really gonna have to save that stamina, that consistency, pretty much everything for this chart. And I mean, right now, Mini-Egg, what are you doing?
Old convoy mayhaps.
True. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I have no idea what these players are even on. Mini-Egg's literally just on the Zaza right now, but so far going past the first third of the map, this is still in that epic chorus that you hear in the song. Darkhechiser going to be taking yet another drop, however, going to increase the score for Mini-Egg ever so slightly as we get into the BPM change. You have some of these more intense metal blast beats in the background music, as you can hear, as you can essentially garner. So still quite a lot of the map left. Mini-Egg going to be taking yet another miss, however, Darkhechiser trades it back immediately as we speak.
Yeah, Mini-Egg going to pick up another break here, and 4,000 points separate these two, and we haven't even hit the halfway mark of this map yet. There is still a lot more to go. And, I mean, what I'm seeing here is Dark just slowly but surely bringing that lead almost to their side. Now, almost less than 4,000 points as they are catching up rapidly. And, oh no, there are some breaks on the side of Dark, but thankfully not too much, though. Although that does lead a couple thousand points in favor of Mini-Egg. Like I said, it takes a lot for Mini-Egg to find breaks here.
And catching that one right after you said it as well. Honestly, this these first matches that we've seen of the finals weekend is literally immediate when it comes to these misfests of maps. And going into this next section, you have a lot of this really dry desert sounding part of the song literally going into the latter stages of it. The clock, the pile top right is pointing at 8 o'clock right now, going almost into the final quarter, and Maniac gonna be choking once again. We've still got to go into this next chorus that is literally just upcoming with some of Melia's rapping here, as we can hear, but so far things are looking really dangerous for Maniac here.
Yeah, as we're throwing in some of these nasty to hit shields with transitioning into some coordination, some full LN pretty much being tossed in. And right now, Maniac gonna pick up another break. Dark hitting that 2.5 combo mark. This is an opportunity for Dark to get some lead in the red here. I feel like Maniac is gonna have to pick up another break, however, 2,000 points. Not going to be enough to swing over with what Maniac has been doing right now, and it's also just that sheer accuracy. There's another break from Maniac. Now it's in the triple digits, getting fairly close now. 400 points in favor of Maniac. It flickers over, but only for a couple seconds. And Dark, the legendary combo, but hey, that's only less than 2,000 points. And Maniac going to break, but I don't think that's enough. We're gonna have to see more.
Yeah, just one last chorus left of the song. Maniac gonna be missing right on the transition into it, as we still see some grades coming out from both these players so far. There's still so many misjudgments, some of these yellow 300s. You've just got the final jump stream. That is Ellen Density going into this.
Here we go!
Oh my god!
The slap from Maniac!
No! At the very end,
oh my god!
Dude! Disgusting!
It came down to just having to hold that note, and unfortunately didn't happen.
No difference whatsoever added into any name. Darkhechiser did win that, but at what cost? It's only 200 points into their name, but now it is another breakpoint from them. For them, they can now lead into the next one, in which it's gonna have to be something less rich. They're going for LN2. That is gonna be Gungnir, as we can see. Oh my goodness. 16 maps remain, but now Darkhechiser are gonna be carrying on the trend with picking maps for specific reasons besides strategy. It seems like Killitek's gonna have a bit of favorites here.
Yeah, we're gonna opt for LN2 here. Our density pick, so gonna continue, and oh my god, 8 stars, bro. Only 7.5, yeah. Am I reading this wrong?
Huh? Yeah, it is.
Am I reading that wrong? Oh my god.
Unfortunately, you are not. I am so sorry to say that you are not currently on hallucinogens. I wish I was as well, but here we are.
Oh boy, here we go. And I mean, we have 4 maps or 3 maps left to go. Maniac's last 2 picks, and then the final pick for Dark. And all Dark needs to do is to get below 50,000 points of score difference, and they can force a final scoring. Or, I mean, seeing the pace that we have been seeing, if they get a 50,000 point difference against Maniac, they could take this match. But I mean, we're just gonna have to see. And I mean, for a pick like this, where it comes to the sheer density, this is probably Dark's best bet to really get this lead up into that 5-digit range. If not, max it out if possible. Maniac can open up the map with a pretty early break, but a very clean one at best too.
Yeah, so far things are looking relatively clean for the side of Darkhechiser here, going about pushing that 1500 combo agenda in their name. Maniac in with yet another drop as well. Darkhechiser gonna trade it back as well. The scoreline is still just decreasing, and it just simply bounces between sides. It really just cannot make a final decision, but this is honestly gonna, but like you said, there's only really a few maps of the map pool left to be played. So this is gonna be putting Darkhechiser into a really bad situation. They just need to win off of some maps that's gonna give them quite the advantage. But especially with these LM maps that we have been seeing, I don't think we're gonna get it that easily.
Yeah, Maniac has been putting up one hell of an effort to make sure that Dark doesn't run away with too big of a lead. And I mean, that's what Miniegg does best. That's what we saw last week against A-Stall. If A-Stall takes points on, or if A-Stall took points on their side, it was by the bare minimum because Miniegg managed to minimize the effort so well. And I mean, Dark is doing an insane job at that as well here. These players are just absolutely inhuman. What do you mean? This is 244 BPM, but Dark finds a break, finds another, and 10,000 points in favor of Miniegg heading into the outro practically of this map. And Miniegg not looking to stop anytime soon. And just like that, Miniegg 11,000 points in their favor. Oh my goodness.
Dude, I have no idea what is going on anymore. Miniegg has officially reached over the 100,000 score mark in this match alone. And now there's only really a few maps left to be played. If Miniegg wins off of at least a few other maps and at least gets a very objective score lead, he could probably end the match early on, even without the final scoring map being played out, in which it is going to have to be possible unless we see some victories from Darkhechiser, which is going to have to happen at least within the final few maps we have, in which I believe it's Miniegg's turn to pick. Or at least his turn on the Xbox.
Yeah, this is Miniegg's last two picks. And I mean, they're gonna have to play Rice. They're gonna have to play Rice.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, oh boy. All that's left is Technologic LN for that wall pick. And then all that's left is Rice 2 or Jump Stream. Rice 5, a bit more abrasive dump, and then I believe Rice 6. I forgot what Rice 6 was.
Rice 6 is like speed jack. Hang on, let me just check the map holding sheet. I forgot for some reason. I swear it's mixed rice. So yeah, I think it should be mixed rice.
But we're gonna exhaust all of the LNs now. Hopping into LN for the wall-based pick here. And a very amazing background.
I love my smoking caterpillar. He really is a bit of a puppy. I don't know.
Although I wish there was a storyboard where it showed where it flipped and it showed everyone's personal info.
Oh no! Dude!
Do you not know that video?
Yeah, dude, I know. Dude, where it's been 3 years since I've seen that video.
Oh my god, that's a callback.
Oh my god.
I haven't seen that video in forever.
Oh my goodness. I mean, maybe Miniegg was probably tanking on that to happen, but unfortunately the map doesn't have a storyboard where we do see the IPs of Darkhechiser, so... At least also, Miniegg doesn't have... Actually, I'm not even going to say the next part. You can continue.
You could just imagine what the score lead would have been if Dark unfortunately didn't find those keyboard missing or keyboard disconnects. But even then, you have to put it in perspective that Dark is writing off of keyboard issues that happened prior. And they've been doing an excellent job here. 74,000 point differential in Miniegg's favor. But that's not to say that that's a feat for Dark to potentially come back with, as then again, it's very, very slow, but it's also very efficient. All it takes is just one little mishap from Miniegg to put that lead in the 5-digit range for Dark, and they could really do some serious damage here. But Dark gonna pick up the first break of the map. Very short map, just shy of 2.5 minutes.
Yeah, I know that Dark is definitely someone that is really good when it comes to at least some of these more consistency-focused maps, especially with the fact that this is the Ellen Wall pick. This focuses a lot more on these jacks and these anchors at approximately 264 BPM. So you have some of these 132 mini jacks just embedded within Ellen Inverse that basically occupies just 3 columns at a time, which can basically just nearly bleed into full inverse at the point, but basically just enough to not fall into that department just yet. And once again, this map's relatively short, only about 2.5 minutes of runtime, and there is still this next section in which so far Ak is favoring Miniegg right now. it's really just a full combo on the side of Miniac, but I cannot curse them at this moment. I would be shocked if that happens, like, relatively soon.
Yeah, and even with Dark's best efforts to really try and recover from that break, which they're doing insanely well here, Miniac is just on a whole nother level right now. 98.56, still, I'm going to hold my tongue on that one, but still absolutely tearing this map apart. Almost 7,000 points in favor, and the slider break! And just like that, the lead shrinks down to less than 2,000 points out. This is Dark's prime opportunity to potentially get some points on their side. All it takes is one more break, and as these walls get harder to hit, I mean, not only is it to hit the walls, it's also to hold those LNs that go for a little bit more longer. And right now, if Miniac, any mishap from Miniac could be the end of it, and there it is! There it is!
No. Right on time with that one again!
And Dark, although it's not by much, still minimizing as much effort to be put on Miniac's side as they are. It's now still 72,000 points difference, but it is slowly but surely creeping up in favor of Dark.
There is only 2 maps left on the board. Rapper screaming in our ears like we're all deaf, but it is now time for Rice 2. I was honestly expecting like Rice 6 to be picked out just because of the fact that that map alone has I mean, Rice 6 alone is like a lot more stamina intensive than Rice 2 is, but I definitely feel that this one makes a lot of sense as well, just going off of Hybrid 1 as we've seen earlier, especially the nerves going to be kicking into Miniac here. I know that this map does have relatively interesting runtime, or at least it has the runtime that is at least necessary for both these players going into the round, but I feel like now Darkhechiser just really needs to lock the absolute hell in for these Rice maps because the options are running out. It's just this, and then either the lower half of the Rice maps as we can see, and both of them are very technical for that matter.
And oh my goodness, I'm actually surprised that these players got no kick from those LN walls, and just this how the mirror LN pool just didn't throw them at all here. But they exhausted all the picks in the LN department, and Miniac's gonna tempt Dark, do one under the label here. They ate up all the LN picks, but now they're gonna opt for the Rice picks that are left on the table here. Gonna opt for Rice 2.
It is time. Rice 2, this is definitely going to be one of the more important maps of the map pool right now. Darkhechiser really needs to keep up on the gas here, because if not, then this is going to probably end really, really early, and that's something that Darkhechiser does not want, especially with the fact that they want to be able to secure their life in the tournament for just a little longer, to be able to fight for the podium spot, and also to fight Homurikemi, or at least after this one. But if the thing doesn't go in their favor, then it might be too late. 2.5 minutes. I don't know. This is only 255 dense hand stream, so he really needs to make do of this one if he wants to be able to overtake Miniac, because that is still such a hefty score lead on his side.
And plus, there's only one pick left after this. And I mean, Dark really needs to practically just lock in on a pick like this, and this is their comfort zone. I've said this plenty of times that the density of, like, just the sheer density is what shines bright in pretty much any department here. And if Miniac struggles a bit, I mean, we saw Rice 1, both players actually struggled a lot on the more back half of the streams, but now we're heading into just basic textbook 255 BPM jump stream with a little hint of hand stream here and there. So maybe both of these players gonna follow that same route we saw with Rice 1 at the beginning of this match. But now you maybe think that the warm-up's starting to sink in with these players. They played a lot of these more trickier maps. Muscles are getting loose, so potentially could get a better performance than what we saw at the beginning of this match. And both players synchronizing misses. But Dark adds an extra one.
Okay, yeah, this is... Yeah, okay, this is looking dangerous for Darkhechiser. Just the fact that the misses were synchronized enough to the fact that it was almost nullified until we saw an even dirtier drop from Darkhechiser right after following that in response. This is already going into the back of the chart. There's still only just so much left. You have some of these core jack anchors you have to work your way through, some of these hand biases and these handstream bursts as well that just come out and surprise you without much of your prior acknowledgement. But Miniac so far has a really good advantage so far. It's really just the nerves that are probably going to kick in, especially with these anchors that just develop as time goes on. Final core, and there's another miss.
Oh my goodness. Keep your nerves in check as 5,000 points in favor of Dark and potentially more 6,000 now as it's starting to claw back in Dark's favor. But they cannot afford any breaks here as the hand stream really kicks into full gear here. And although Miniac clawing back slowly at that lead, still 6,000 points in favor of Dark. And if there's any more breaks on the side of Miniac, oh, there's one from Dark. But hey, 9,000 points in favor of Dark. Actually 7,000 as it shrunk down with that break. Still better than nothing as, oh my, but now it's down to there's only one pick left.
Only one map left. Darkhechiser needs to at least win, at least by 15,000 points to be able to force the tiebreaker, because at this point, there's no going back. Only one map left, and now it's really just going to have to be between a tight decision. Both of these are Rice maps in which I feel the more beneficial one to go for the final map would have to be something like Synthesis. I feel like Identity, or at least my map here, would be way too risky to afford, especially the fact that although it does have some relatively abrasive patterns, Synthesis is a lot more of a marathon, and that way you can get some chokes on that one a lot more frequently than in comparison to Identity, and it is going to be Synthesis indeed. Oh wait, no, it's not.
Yeah. Oh, no, our ref is just fooling us, and I mean, it's either we see Rice 5 or Rice 6, and are we going to see the same pattern as last match where they headed for Rice 6 as the last pick before final scoring?
Yeah. Honestly, I'm at a loss for words right now. I have no idea what exactly is going to be happening, but it is incredibly likely for Miniac to close the match off as it is. Just shut that window of opportunity on the face of Darkhechiser here. But Darkhechiser are going to be opted in for Rice 8, which is non-existent, I guess. God damn it. Sagarium, bro! Come on, bro. Rice 5 or Rice 6? Elaborate.
You're really making us paranoid here, Sagarium. Oh my goodness. I mean, these two have been absolute war pigs when it comes to these charts, so it's gonna come down to the last pick here. Oh my.
Oh my god. I knew you were going to make the reference.
Don't be slick with your MF Doom reference earlier, okay?
I know. That wasn't intentional, but at least we rolled. But at least that one was fire. I can't lie.
That one was fire.
It's Rice 7. No, okay, no. This stolen.
We're being trolled. That got banned,
bro.
Oh my god.
Bro. All right.
Oh my goodness.
All right. Which one? Please! It's Synthesis!
Alright, we're gonna see Rice 6, so Synthesis!
Oh my god!
Gotta get the pick.
It's time. The final Rice map before we see a potential final scoring in which, if this does go to final scoring, this is going to be the most intense match. And especially then, it's gonna be really dangerous for Darkhechiser. They're gonna really need a lot of points to be able to tackle Miniac here, especially trying to make amends for the earlier keyboard issues at the start of the match that were unfortunate. But this map might be the golden opportunity.
Yes, this is Dark's one last shot to either capture at least 16,000 points in their favor, or they'll let it slip. They cannot afford it. As, oh my goodness, here we go with Synthesis. Even I'm getting nervous, and I'm not even playing.
Same. I was originally planning on playing for the tournament, but as soon as I found out that it was literally as hard as Speed of Light Free, I just couldn't be arsed anymore. I decided to resort to mapping and I don't know, waffling about people that I don't even know, that I've never met IRL, but I can't really. I mean, realistically, I can meet up with Miniegg whenever I want, but I don't live in Mexico, so I can't meet up with Darkhechiser anyway. But seems like here, 3.5 minutes. 6-star gauntlet by Oceanus, yours truly. Good luck.
And here we go. Potentially Dark's last pick of this entire tournament. And very speedjack heavy, like you said. 189 BPM speedjacks. So you really gotta be on the lookout here. And ooh, Miniegg having a bit of a fumble on that speed transition there, as those were some pretty nasty drops. Although Dark's accuracy looming not too far ahead from Miniegg right now, actually, as Miniegg picks up an extra break as well.
Okay, things are not really looking good for the side of Miniegg, but this is exactly why I thought this map would have been entirely worth it, especially if the chain misses from the side of Miniegg. It is already well established that he tends to suffer a bit when it comes to these rice maps and contrarian to the element-oriented ones, but Darkhechiser is going to be taking a miss there. That is relatively clean for the time being, but Darkhechiser is going to really need to keep building upon the foundation right here to be able to try and force this final scoring. As we can see here, the chain misses from Miniegg is only just going to pick up as we make it about nearly 15,000 for Darkhechiser.
And, I mean, we need more from Miniegg as Dark is getting close to minimizing that 50,000 point gap is what Miniegg needed in order to take this match and avoid final scoring. But at this point, they have been absolutely tearing this apart, both sides, as both players trade breaks here. 12,000 points. Dark's gonna need just a bit more of a kickstart in order to prevent Miniegg from taking the match and force a final scoring, as there is still a map left to go, and we do have a little bit of a break section for these players to climb up their combo before we head into the final half of this map.
Yeah, indeed, and so far, especially with the cars that both these players have been dealt with, they are doing a really good job of being able to maintain their position in the driver's seat, or at least on this split screen co-op screen, as we can see. And it's really just gonna have to come down to at least FC and a lot of these patterns. Darkhechiser are gonna be choking on the transition into that next core section.
That's not good.
Oh my goodness. A lot of these patterns are just incredibly difficult. It's disgusting that both players are even able to pull this off.
Yeah, the fact that Miniegg held a very solid combo there for the longest time was insanely close, but Dark back up to that 14. Oh my goodness, wait a second. They are very close to preventing final scoring. We're going to have to see a bit more, though. There it is, 16,000 points. They cannot let it slip. They need to hold on for until the ending of this chart, and one more break could really solidify. And there it is! There it is! 20,000 points in favor of Dark, but Dark cannot let it slip at all as we head into the final bursty technical. Pretty much everything's being thrown at you, and Miniegg constantly finding breaks while Dark isn't giving anything up. And ladies and gentlemen, from an 80,000 point deficit, managing to close in to 38,000. We're headed to final scoring.
We have successfully filled the quota of having both of the initial losers bracket matches for this round be a final scoring match. And now there is no better way to really conclude this match off to see who exactly is going to be the one advancing into that conditionals against Homu Akemi, awaiting the next opponent on the tightrope here. And now there's about 38,000 points of an advantage to Miniegg. So now Darkhechiser it's now down to him to be able to suit a gap once and for all. Finally put the final stitch in the coffin here to be able to try and fight for another day. Your hero of tomorrow is yet to be decided, everyone. It's time to place your bets now. Who is going to be winning?
And yeah, like you mentioned, Miniegg does have the 38,000 point cushion going into this chart. But I mean, just to say that Dark was doubting themselves this entire match after those 2 keyboard issues, and they have successfully climbed back to force a final scoring against Miniegg, even despite the keyboard issues they've had along the way. And I mean, don't beat yourself up even more about it, as it's not over until it's over. You fight until it's done and settled with, and you cannot give up now.
Honestly, my own perspective on this whole thing, if we actually see Darkhechiser pull off the upset and make it into their own victory, using the clay and turning it into a weapon of their own, this is honestly going to be one of the most insane comebacks for a final score going into the late game. And to be honest, looking at the chat, yeah, Logs, I have the same question as you. What if is at BPM? 696 BPM.
Lot really doesn't want Nod to full combo this map. Jeez.
I don't think anyone does at this point, but you can't stop the man. He's still running at the end of the day in the winners bracket, but that's beside the point.
And here we go. Headed into final scoring. Both these players have been absolutely showing no remorse in these charts and giving it their all. But unfortunately, one of these players are going to have to fade to black in the end of when it all comes to an end. But it's all going to come down here.
Stellian is exactly where it's at so far. No advantages to be seen. You have some of these really odd coordination-oriented sections on some of the left and right columns. Darkhechiser are going to be the first one to choke on them on the transition from that speed core-oriented section. That glimpse of what you're about to see from the courses here. This is only going past the first 6 of the map, and another miss from Darkhechiser. That is only going to add fuel to the fire. Miniegg already has enough score and has the luxury of ending the match right now, and this is ultimately the one thing Darkhechiser wants to prevent. But now he's going to need to look for an open attack, but I don't know how likely it is at this point.
Yeah, I mean, Miniegg, like we said earlier, already having a 38,000 point cushion going into this chart, but Dark needs to at least have a 39,000 point lead if they want to take this. But even with that, like I mentioned, Miniegg is very good at minimizing leads, as they tend to limit it down to just like roughly a couple thousand points in favor of the opposing player if it does happen, if they can't take their own map or take the map itself. But right now, Miniegg finding a lot more breaks than Dark has, but there is still a lot more map to go. It is not done yet, and only 5,000 points in favor of Dark right now. Gonna need a bit more than that if they want to stay alive in this losers bracket.
Absolutely, and especially with this map having quite the balance of physicality versus technicality, Miniegg still going to be choking on some of these transitions. A lot of these LNs in particular are just incredibly abrasive to a point where Darkhechiser already has about 7,000 points in their name. It's only really just having to try and objectify it to a point where now you can just win off of this map alone, in which the score gap is still so wide. You're gonna have to blow this map wide open with the door you have at your disposal, and even then, only halfway throughout the map. This is still only about 7,000 points in the advantage of Darkhechiser. You've still got so much of the map left in your resource. You just need to use whatever you have at your disposal.
And both these players have been holding on very well. And I mean, just seeing how complicated this map is, lots of these very inverse sections, and Miniegg gonna trip up on that transition into that more nasty LN inverse and picking up another one, but Dark gonna trade it back. Those legendary combos now gone, but there is still 1/3 of this map left to go, and 8,000 points almost separates these two. Dark needs to add 30,000 more to that though.
Yeah, I think at this point, Darkhechiser is going to really need Miniac to just collapse full on. I think at that point, Miniac's going to have to at least have a keyboard issue, but I cannot wish for that directly because it would be incredibly disrespectful. But the physicality is also going to have to at least cap off for one of these players to be able to provide the chance for Darkhechiser to at least seek the opportunity to snag the lead back, because you only have 1 quarter to be able to accumulate yet another 20,000 points, 30,000 points even, for that matter. And even then, it's really just the speed core section mixed in with the short lens as well. You're not really going to get much of it. You're not going to get much points out of it. Miniac still has so much score, and even with these misses, it's going to really come down to at least an insane chain of one of these. It's just
even though well, there's another break from Miniag, and a bit more of a technical section does fill this map, or this like little ending of map there is. But Dark, as I mentioned, is a lot more physical than Miniag, and it does correlate to that Rice department. But there's a break from Dark. It won't do much, however. But Miniag really needs to start fighting more drops if Dark wants to stay alive. Even though by 13,000 points, it's not enough, but there's some slider breaks, but this map is pretty much coming to a close now. Even if the worst comes to worst, it wouldn't be enough. And unfortunately, even with Dark's bestest of efforts, it won't be enough. And as these final mini jacks roll in, Miniag, even though they did not take the final scoring, still has the lead. And that's all that matters. And Miniag will punch their ticket into their conditional match with a date with Homu Akemi tomorrow.
Honestly,
at 21 UTC.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, thank you so much for pointing that out. Honestly, what an insane match that has been, and what an insane way for Darkhechiser to go out. Their efforts throughout the whole tournament will not go unforgotten, but or at least not forgotten. Oh shit! What was I gonna say? Oh, what? Oh my god.
Yeah, and you're fired. GG's. Right. He just left the booth. Oh, okay.
Nah, I'm just kidding. I'm not pulling that. Okay. But anyways,
you're not pulling me back in OMLN, okay?
What? Am I not?
You're not gonna be like me in OMLN 3 and just leave the commentary booth. But anyway, we gotta properly outro this stream here.
Okay, anyways, yeah, so apologies for that. I did not mean to offend anyone that would have been offended, but anyways, yeah, we are going to be advancing into the conditionals tomorrow. It is going to be the final match of the finals bracket, in which we have 2 more after this. We've got the match between... We also have the match between Pavan and Nod in the winners bracket, which is going to be happening at 11 UTC tomorrow. So stay tuned for that to see who is going to get the guaranteed podium position. And the final match for Homu Akemi versus Minia going to be happening at 21 UTC tomorrow as well. Stay on the lookout for that. And I think it's safe to say we can conclude it here. This is all the matches we had for today.
Yeah, we can conclude for now. Unfortunately, we're going to have to say goodbye to Dark. Even with those keyboard issues, they had one hell of a comeback, but still, unfortunately, fell short. And once again, congratulations to Miniag for moving on to your conditional. It's not over for them yet. They still have to take on Homu tomorrow. But for now, I've been Arasani, commentating along with Epic Man. And that is all for us today. We will see you all at 11 UTC. For Pavan versus Nod. So long, everybody. Take care.
Peace out.